Money mindset has been a buzzy term for a very long time, and it's been rebranded again and again over the years. As a shame-free financial therapist, I want to help you understand money mindset in a healthier way that doesn't make you feel badly if you've tried money mindset in the past and it just didn't sit right with you or it felt really weird. So let's get into the history of abundance mindset and money mindset and talk about what we can do to soften it and actually make it useful. Abundance mindset has been around for a very long time, and it was repopularized when the book The Secret became very popular in the early aughts when Oprah brought on The Secret's author to her platform, and then the book took off and the movie took off, and again and again. The author of the book The Secret said that they were inspired to write that book after reading a book written in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles called The Science of Getting Rich. And The Secret and The Science of Getting Rich have this same thing in common, which is called abundance mindset. And it has been used for many, many years to talk about how the way we think impacts the types of things we manifest or call into our lives. And the issue here is that a lot of money mindset is riddled with gaslighting. Gaslighting, for the uninitiated / as a reminder, is a form of emotional manipulation in which a bully or abuser or perpetrator is telling the person who's on the receiving end of the message that what they think or feel or experience is wrong. And it often misleads the person on the receiving end from that type of behavior to wonder whether or not they're going mad and to question their own reality. It's subtle, it's not as blatant as things that could be easily labeled as emotional or physical abuse. And it often sounds like things like this if you're on the receiving end of gaslighting behavior. It sounds like, oh, you must not be remembering it right, or that's not the way that it happened, or I didn't do anything wrong, or there's no way you actually feel that way. It's a lot of those things. And so the tactics that the gaslighter uses often look like things like victim blaming, distraction, minimizing the person's thoughts or experiences or memory, lying or blaming others. And gaslighting, for the person who is in the position of gaslighting, it is all about holding on to the power, holding on to this sense of control and self-preservation by keeping somebody else down. And it helps the gaslighter to stay in the position of right. And when it comes to money mindset, the reason that I associate it a lot of the times with gaslighting is a lot of people perpetuating the myth of money mindset in the way of, if you have an abundance mindset, then it's the opposite of scarcity mindset. It leads to a lot of victim blaming. Meaning, abundance mindset is this idea that there's more than enough to go around, and that if you don't have enough money, if you didn't get that raise, if you weren't able to invest in the stock market, if you couldn't pay off that debt, it is all because you didn't think the right types of abundant thoughts. And that, my friends, is victim blaming. And it's also a part of gaslighting because it is about distracting the way that you feel. I've had clients in my world who come to me and they say, Lindsay, I have read all the books on abundance mindset, or I'm not trying to have a scarcity mindset. And they blame themselves for where they are at right now. They minimize their own thoughts, their own experiences, their own perception of reality starts getting shifted by all of these people who are telling them, you just didn't think abundantly enough, or you just didn't think positively enough, and that's why you are where you are. So in today's video, we're gonna move all the gaslighting to the side and talk about real tactical ways that we can use a healthy money mindset that does not include the gaslighting, so you can have a stronger, healthier, more peaceful relationship with your money. Tip number one is to focus on your thoughts. And this is not going from negative to positive or from scarcity to abundance. If you have experienced thoughts that sound like, I don't understand money, or I'll never have enough money, or I can't earn as much as I need, then I want you to take those thoughts and actually lovingly run them through how true are they and how false are they. So let's just take one of those, for example. I don't understand money. So you can literally write this down on a piece of paper, put it in your notes app, put it in your Google Docs, but write that down and literally ask yourself, how true is it that I don't understand money? And you might come up with a few examples. You might come up with an example like, I was told to enroll in a 401k at work and I don't understand what a 401k is. I'm so worried I'm gonna mess it up, so I just didn't sign up. So that might be filed under an example of, I don't understand money. But let's get curious about things that you do understand about money, that we can start kind of proving this thought wrong. So for example, maybe you always pay your rent on time. That would be an example that you understand money. Maybe you are really good at setting an alert on your phone when tax season comes and making sure that you get in with a professional to file your taxes on time. That would be an example of understanding money. Once we start doing this exercise in a pragmatic and in a neutral way, we can start seeing that maybe this blanket thought of I don't understand money might not be all true. It might be like 20 or 30% true, but it's not 100% true, and kind of reframing those negative thoughts into something that's more truthful, into something that's more neutral, can help you have a better money mindset. 2, the concept of enoughness. Oftentimes with my clients, they are so fearful of making a mistake with money that rather than take the very first step that they need to take to start getting better with money, whatever that means for them, they don't do anything. And I don't blame them. It makes perfect sense. We'd much rather stay exactly where we are and know our surroundings and know what's going on than to take some steps into the unknown. Taking steps into the unknown can be really scary. And when it comes to your money, taking steps into the unknown, like calling up an insurance broker to talk about term life insurance or shopping around for a new bank, those things can be unknown, they can be overwhelming, they can be really scary. So I want for you to think about, what is enoughness when it comes to X? What is the minimum viable amount of knowledge that I need in order to take action? So for example, if you're thinking about investing in the stock market, I don't want you to wait until you've read 30 books on how the stock market works, you've taken 12 different courses on what investing is. I want you to think about what is the least amount of information that I need to know in order to feel comfortable enough to take the next action step. Meaning, I might need to set up an appointment with the HR rep who's in charge of retirement accounts. That could be one thing that you need to do to start taking action steps toward investing. Another thing you could do is say, sign up for a jargon-free practical investing course like the one that I took last year and loved, Invested Development by Amanda Holden. I will link it below. I cannot recommend it highly enough as being super clear, super understandable, and wildly entertaining when talking about a subject like investing. So when it comes to this tip, I want you to think about, what is the minimum amount of information that I need in order to have enough knowledge to take the next one step.
Are you loving this content? Do you know you can hire me to come speak to your employees or colleagues? You can. All you have to do is visit mindmoneybalance.com/speaking to learn more. Back to the video.
3, your worth is not your work. This is a money mindset tip that has been floating around forever that makes me angry in my core, which is people equating what they do for a living with how much they are worth. You hear this all the time in #girlboss groups, but it sounds like charge your worth or get your worth. And it's let's provide a little bit of psychological separation from what we do for a living and our inherent worth as a human. Instead, if you're self-employed, I want you to think about charging for the value of the work you provide. And if you are traditionally employed, I want you to think about being compensated for the value of the work that you provide your employer. Instead of I'm worth X, we are all worth so much more. We cannot put a dollar amount on our worthiness as humans. So start separating out charge your worth from charge the value of the work or the output or the skills that you provide, okay? I'm so sick of seeing it. It needs to end. And if you catch yourself in it, or if you hear a friend or a loved one say it, offer them that little reframe. It'll help a lot with your money mindset. Tip number 4 is, if you're holding on really tightly to money, I want you to compassionately and lovingly start to figure out where that holding on tightly comes from. A lot of the gaslighting in the money mindset space about spending money sounds like just spend it and trust that the universe will give it back to you, which sounds okay-ish, but not really, because oftentimes these people who are selling you on the money mindset stuff are saying things like, just get a credit card and come join me in my very expensive program so I can help you manifest all the money of your dreams. And they say things like, it's your your money mindset that won't allow you to get a credit card, that trust that if I teach you these 5 secrets, you'll be able to pay off your credit card with all of the secrets that I'm going to teach you. That's money mindset. That's manifestation. That's abundance. Clearly, I'm being a little salty about this because it drives me bananas. So if you're holding on tightly to your money, lovingly examine where it's coming from. You can lovingly examine this by thinking about other things that most of us understand. If a person grew up in a food insecure household, most of us have enough compassion and empathy to understand that that person may eat as much food as possible when it is around them, or hold on to and hide or hoard that food because when they were a child or when they were younger, they weren't sure when food was coming. It makes perfect sense that they would take as much food as they could to sustain and nourish their bodies. If you're a person who holds on really tightly to money, I want you to think, did I experience financial insecurity as a child? And if so, does that help me to understand why I do what I do with my money? And if you're thinking, Lindsay, I didn't really experience that, I want you to remember something called epigenetics. To kind of boil down what epigenetics is, it is this idea that things can be passed down from one generation to another, literally on our genes, and depending on what our parents, our grandparents, or other ancestors experience, it can turn on or off different genes to better protect the next generation. And when it comes to memories of trauma, research has shown that anywhere between 5 and 14 generations can pass down what they've experienced that have turned on or off different gene markers. So when you think about, if you're the type of person who holds on tightly to your money, do you come from a lineage where it would make sense for a loved one to hold on tightly to their money as a protective mechanism? This is particularly pertinent for folks who have legacies of being refugees, of being immigrants, of having to flee their home or their land because of different reasons. Why? Because money, or whether it was money or many generations back, it could have been things, specific types of goods, having access to those goods or that money would help you to flee and get somewhere new safely. So even if you personally didn't experience financial insecurity, did your parents, grandparents, or ancestors experience that may have literally been passed down to you genetically, that might help you understand why you do what you do? When we think about hoarding money, instead of thinking like just have an abundance mindset and go spend it, I want you to extend compassion to yourself, to your ancestors, to your lineage, and say it makes perfect sense that in order to stay safe, you would want to hold on to your money. And then I want you to think about where you are now. Maybe you're comfortable, whatever comfortable means financially for you. Maybe you're comfortable right now, but you come from a legacy like that. I want you to say, it makes perfect sense that I want to hold on tightly to this money. And over the past 10 years, I have experienced financial security, and I'm confident that I have the capacity to continue experiencing financial security. And then it's safe for me to spend a little bit more, or whatever the thing is. It's safe for me to invest. It's safe for me to buy a house. It's safe for me to rent. Whatever the thing is that you know logically you can do, but somatically, emotionally, in your body, in your bones, it's telling you it's not. That's what I want you to do, is extend compassion and empathy to that part of you so that you can lovingly move through into more financial security, even if that means spending a little bit. Number 5 is to understand what a sunk cost fallacy is and learn how to get rid of it. So sunk cost fallacy is this idea that once we've invested time, energy, money into a specific thing, it's really hard to stop doing that specific thing because we've already spent time, money, or energy on that thing. For example, maybe you purchased a home. You were super excited and watching a lot of HGTV, and you bought a home that was maybe in a little bit of more rough and tumble shape than you thought you wanted for your first house. But because you're watching so much HGTV, you were like, I can handle this. Everybody else just does like renos and buys things, and I can do this. I've watched enough TV and I've got the skills and it'll be okay. Fast forward, now you're 5 years into the house, and it seems like every time you start a project, something else happens. You go to put in a new sink and you find that the wood is rotted behind it and you have to tear out a part of the wall and fix it. or you go to put on new shingles. There's a hole in the ceiling and you have to repair the ceiling or something like that. And the sunk cost fallacy is this idea that because you've already invested time, energy, and money into that thing, in this example, a house that maybe is not in the best condition, you're more likely to stay there. Even if on paper it makes sense to cut your losses, sell, even if it is at a loss, and get out of there and into somewhere that is more stable and more secure for your financial, mental, and physical well-being. But a sunk cost fallacy says, nope, I already put in the time and money. I gotta stick it out. I gotta stay with it. And when it comes to our relationship with money, this can definitely impact us. Scan your recent memory for things that you might be engaging in sunk cost fallacy with. Maybe it's a job that you really don't like anymore. And when you started out, you were told it was one thing and it turned out to be something entirely different. And now you've been there a few years and you feel like you just gotta stick it out because things might get better, or the role might change, or your boss might get promoted, or you might get a new team, right? Hanging on so tightly because you already put in this energy and effort to be there. That might be a sunk cost fallacy that's impacting your money mindset. Because if you're staying at a job that isn't great, that's an example of sunk cost fallacy. So I want you to think about those types of things and see how you can lovingly divest from it. To recap, the 5 different things that I want you to think about to have a healthier money mindset without the gaslighting: reframe your thoughts by looking at what's actually true and what is not. Practice enoughness. Remind yourself that your work is not your worth. Understand where that propensity to hold on tightly to your money is coming from, and figure out if you are falling victim to sunk cost fallacy.